I'm John O'Farrell. I'm the chair of the Fair Oaks Park District for the calendar year of 2021. This is the February 2021 regular board meeting. And Jennifer, would you please call the roll?
Yes, Director Tamani. Director Carhart.
Here.
Director Irwin.
Here.
Director Mounts.
Here.
And Chair O'Farrell.
Here as well. Let's see. What about the pledge?
Oh,
Might be good.
Yes, no, the host here, the meeting moderator will launch that off for us, I believe.
Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jennifer. Presentations, proclamations, and recognition. Mike, you want to take that and direct me in the right?
Yes, thank you. I believe that Sean Ventura has something that he'd like to go over. Let me just check and see if he's here. Yes, everybody looks like there's there for it. So we'll let Sean and I believe Dave Knighton in.
Hello, Board of Directors. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. I won't take much time here. I just wanted to take a few moments to put a spotlight on one of my employees, Dave Knighton. He is my lead park worker. And as you may have heard in your email, just fairly recently, Dave Knighton has received a job offer with the City of Davis as a park supervisor. I wanted to take a moment here in front of the board to highlight his years of service. He's been with us as a full-time staff member, park worker since 2015, though he started as a rec coordinator, working the baseball diamonds for adult softball a little earlier than that. He's been my brother in arms since I became full-time here, and we've grown a lot together. I wanted to give him a chance to speak if he would like it, and thank him for his years of service, and say, Dave, good luck in your next step on your journey, and thank you for everything you've done for the district.
Thanks, Sean.
Can everybody hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Sean, thank you. I appreciate that introduction, and also a farewell, I guess. As Sean said, we've kind of been brothers in arms for the last 5 years, working. I worked hand in hand with him, so it's been a privilege to watch him grow into the position that he's in now, and sort of the motivation and inspiration for me to sort of pursue avenues of career advancement myself. And so I was fortunate to get this opportunity with the City of Davis, and it's a lot of anxiety, but also a lot of excitement that I'm feeling right now. But I would like to take this time to thank all of you at Fair Oaks, from the board members to Mike, to the management team, to everybody that I've worked with. I've created some great friendships. I've learned some excellent skills, and really, really have loved and enjoyed my time here, and appreciate the opportunity. I don't know if many of you know, but I worked in social work prior to coming to parks, and was sort of ready to get out of that. And the Fair Oaks gave me an opportunity when really I didn't think anybody else would. And it's become my passion and my love. And I'm fortunate to be moving on to the next level of my career in the same field that I started here. But I will always have an affinity in my heart for Fair Oaks, and can't thank you all enough for the opportunities that you've given me.
Dave, first and foremost, we're going to really, really miss you. And but congratulations, as you move on and you move forward, and you never know, sometimes you circle back and you find your way back to where your real home is. Who knows?
We can hope. We can hope.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Dave, we are going to miss you. I don't know who gave you permission to do this, but I wouldn't have. We are going to miss you a lot, and you've been great with our district. So good luck in Davis.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You won't
Yes,
need
good luck.
luck to apply your skills.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I just wanted to add in, Dave, from the district side, from the staffing, as I mentioned before, Davis is incredibly lucky to have you. And we're very disappointed in you leaving, but very proud of you and very proud of your opportunities that we're going to see from you and some of the great things that you'll do. And so anyway, congratulations, Dave. And I have sincerely appreciated the time working with you here.
Thank you, Micah. I've appreciated everything that you've done for me, and again, everything that the district has done to help me actually get this opportunity.
Good luck and enjoy life over in Davis.
Thank you.
Yeah, and don't be a stranger, because I'm sure there's some good collaboration that we can do and sharing best practices and things like that.
Oh, I definitely will be back. I can't wait to see the district grow and some of the great things that you guys have in the works. That's one of the disappointments that I have, is that I won't be here as part of the staff to see it, but I certainly will be enjoying it as a member of the public. And like John says, you never know what life brings, so it may all come full circle eventually.
There you go.
We'll have you back for some performances in the Black Box Theater and for some art shows. And be sure to show up for the Chicken Festival. We'll put you.
Really. Okay. Anybody else? Are we good? Thanks again.
Thank you again.
All right.
John, I apologize. I believe Chelsea had something.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Chelsea?
I'm sorry, I apologize if it wasn't on the agenda, but I was supposed to present the recipients of the Rachel Ann Gray Memorial Scholarship for 2021 tonight.
You're on there.
Oh, I'm on there, okay. So I just want to let you guys know, for those that don't know me, I'm Chelsea Adams. I'm the Recreation Supervisor, and I'm co-advisor of the Fair Oaks Youth Advisory Board. The Rachel Ann Gray Memorial Scholarship is awarded annually to local seniors in the community to be used towards their future education or life plans. I apologize, my 21-month-old is excited right now for me, I guess. The recipient of the $250 scholarship this year is Kathy Sanchez. She's a senior at Bella Vista High School, and she has been accepted at Sac State in Chico, and she hopes to attend and major in either biology or criminal justice. The recipient of the $500 scholarship is Caroline Gross, who's our current vice chair for the Fair Oaks Youth Advisory Board and a senior at Bella Vista High School. She plans to study civil engineering, and she hopes to run her own firm one day while traveling abroad to build sustainable housing. Our $1,000 scholarship recipient is Delaney Kendall. She is a senior at Bella Vista High School. She plans to get a degree in film and media production and hopes to use her degree to make a positive impact through visual media. And our final recipient of the $1,500 Rachel Ann Gray Memorial Scholarship is Ashley Judish. She's actually a member of our Fair Oaks Youth Advisory Board this year and is also a senior at Bella Vista High School. She hopes to attend the University of Nevada, Reno, or Texas Women University to pursue her Bachelor's of Science degree in nursing. We had wonderful applicants this year, and we want to say congratulations to them again. Some of them are listening tonight, but it was a weird year virtually, but we have some amazing youth out there. So congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Chelsea. Yes, congratulations to all the recipients. And I'm sure that they will use the money judiciously and to further their interests in their education.
Yes, congratulations to all the recipients.
Okay, we good with this?
And then we have Caroline with the FOIAB report.
Okay.
That's actually on the agenda, so that's
Yeah.
further down.
Oh, I apologize. I thought it was right there.
All right, so there's an opportunity for the audience to comment on non-agenda items. And any person may address the board upon any subject within the jurisdiction of the park board, park district, I'm sorry. Each speaker is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Any matter requiring board action will be referred to staff or committee for report and action at a subsequent meeting. Do we have anyone that would like to address the board on a non-agenda item? If you do, please raise your hand and Ian will recognize you.
So you can raise your hand there, or if you put your name in the chat, I will get you in the list. So first up, we have Maggie. All right, Maggie, just need you to unmute, and then you can go ahead and speak. There we
Host
go.
would unmute. Okay, am I ready? Okay.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Lynn Maggie C, and I've lived in Fair Oaks for 35 years. And I also, played tennis at Miller Park, and I belonged to the tennis racket club, and I did tournaments and all that until I broke my ankle. Then I stopped tennis and I joined Northridge and play golf. But then a couple of years ago, Northridge started a pickleball court, and they converted their tennis court and parking lot into 4 pickleball courts. And then we sold our membership, so I was looking for pickleball courts, and I couldn't find any in public courts in Fair Oaks. And that's why I'm presenting this, because I thank you for letting me speak, because I would like to present that Miller Park has 8 tennis courts, and I would like 1 tennis court can make for 4 pickleball courts. And Fair Oaks, when I looked, I couldn't find any, so then I looked on player time schedule. They have in Orangevale, they have Pecan Park, and then in Citrus Heights they have Rush Park, and also San Juan. They have taken two of their tennis courts. They converted one into Pecan. They have 2 pickleball courts, and in San Juan they converted 1 tennis court into 3 pickleball courts. So and when I drive by Miller Park, I seldom see people playing tennis. So it seems like there are 8 courts sitting there, and pickleball courts everywhere is being filled to capacity. And pickleball is really the fastest growing sport in America, wrote by Economist magazine. And the number of pickleball players have grown 650% from 2014 to 2020. And also comparison to tennis, 2011 to now, the average growth is only 1.4%. So pickleball is, even all the private courts, private clubs also converted their tennis courts into pickleball courts, like Rollingwood, Gold River, a lot of places. So anyway, that's my, I have also got onto next door neighbor. I got started a pickleball club, and we had like 25 people signed up. And every day I get questions. How do I play pickleball? We really like to play pickleball. How do you play? Where do I play? And so we have a big community that really, like to learn how to play. And I think Fair Oaks Recreation Park, they can even, give lessons during your lots of activities you have. In Rush Park, which is Citrus Heights, they charge a fee to be members, and they're over capacity, and they have waiting list for people to join. They give lessons there, and they have, just to say that the pickleball playtime scheduler, that's where you go find your places where you can play. And just started in 2000. I know time is up, is it?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, though.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I would like to come back in March and give a formal presentation.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else, Ian, that wants to be recognized during the off-agenda item?
No, it looks like that was it.
Okay, moving on to the next item, which is the approval of the agenda. A motion to approve from someone, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, if I may,
yes.
would you like me to add the pickleball item to the March agenda?
Yes, please do. Thank you.
I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On, Chair, for adding that for the March agenda, is there something specifically we would like staff to prepare for us, or what are we wanting to get on the agenda?
Mike and I had a conversation today before the board meeting, and the issues that I raised with him are obviously funding for basically a green site from the ground up, conversion of courts, where we get the money, where we are with respect to other projects, what kind of and what level of participation would we expect to see from the pickleball group. We'd also encourage them to organize in some fashion, possibly a 501c3. So, and Mike has provided the board approves this, is it that they're willing to help with the organizational aspect of the pickleball group, so that they have some formal status. So there may be other issues that other board members would like to see covered, but that was just off the top of my head when we had our conversation.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty encompassing, a general, I take that as a general pickleball feasibility study, right? I mean, that's what I want to see is basically that, where we can have them, how many we can have them. Do we need all 8 tennis courts? Is it really, do we really get 8 pickleball courts from 1 tennis court? I don't know if that's accurate. I'd like to know, cost convert, all of that stuff, what our tennis club is doing. And then, yes, the possibility of making the pickleball club a 501c3 to make them a true community partner, like so many of our other partners are that contribute to the spaces that we help make sure are there.
I would agree. And the other thing is it maybe a report back on the actual usage at Miller Park in terms of the tennis group to see, is it occupied 8 hours a day, 6 hours a day, 4 hours a day, and obviously it's a different time and place, and it's also kind of a cooler time during the year. But at least maybe you can go back and look at historical usage, so we can have a pretty good idea, whether or not that makes some sense to convert there.
Great.
I agree. I would like to see it on the agenda for March. And I had very similar questions. So I think it'd be great to put it there so we can talk about it more.
Yep.
Along the lines of what John said, the current usage of the tennis courts, I know it used to be of the 8, 4 of them were dedicated to the racket club. 2 they had sort of priority on, and 2 were exclusively for the public. An update on whether that's still the case. And, I agree what the usage is. And my special thing that I've talked to Mike about is if we don't do a conversion, where are the suitable places in our facilities, in our parks? Look at some options for where those could be added appropriately.
I would agree, Ralph. Yeah, we also talked about that as well. And Mike actually suggested, probably the best place would be Phoenix Park, provided that, the baseball, the softball complex is relocated. And I can't remember, your next one was Fair Oaks Park. And then finally, the third one was Miller Park. But Miller Park doesn't seem to have the terrain. So obviously you have to do something with existing courts or with the backboards, which I don't know that are ever used at all, but anyway.
And the rest of the board is aware of the one that's going in Gum Ranch Park, the one.
Yeah, we got the one.
Right.
Yeah. And let's make sure though that is mentioned in what we discuss on next month, that we are indeed having one in the works for sure coming that will be built from the ground up for this.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. All right. Okay to move on to the consent calendar. Do any of the board members have any questions or comments or concerns about any of the items that have shown up on the consent calendar? Hearing none, motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay, now we have the item 8.1 is the Fair Oaks Youth Advisory Board report.
Hi, I'm Caroline Gross, the Vice Chair of FOIAB. I'm filling in for Rachel, who's our chair. She can't be here today. So I'm just gonna fill you guys in on what we're talking about in FOIAB. So we're planning on participating in the potential bunny egg hunt event. And so we're planning on having like a booth and somehow incorporating a adult egg hunt, but maybe like make it a raffle situation so that they can still get like a big prize. We're also planning on doing a summer box similar to like the New Year's box that we did, because we found that the New Year's box was a big hit. Yeah. So like the New Year's Eve box will have, the summer box will have like chalk, bubbles, and like fun little games similar to what the New Year's Eve box had. And we're hoping to find additional like service events that we can volunteer in before May, but we'll get back to you guys on that when we figure that out. And we want to thank you guys again for like the donations to FOIAB. And we're trying our very hardest to do lots of things during this time, but of course it's really hard right now. But yeah, do you guys have any questions?
I don't, but it sounds like that it's going to be an exciting year, and hopefully you do find some other stuff that you can get involved with. You're one of our most treasured organizations, so we always expect to see a lot of things happen, a lot of good things happen, and they always do.
And we feel very, very sorry for not being able to be with all your friends at school and interact the way we got to do when we were in high school.
We don't have a date yet, do we, for the Easter extravaganza? Do we?
Yeah, that's correct. We don't have a date either.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, all right. Item 8.2, discussion and possible action regarding approval of reinstating the 2% salaries. Jennifer, Mike, who's going to present?
Yeah, I'm going to let Jennifer take that one.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jennifer Larkin. I'm the Administrative Services Manager. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So this item is coming to you from both the Personnel and Management Committee and the Budget and Finance Committee. And it is for approval of the reinstatement of 2% of the 4% salary reduction for full-time employees for this current fiscal year. So during our budget process for 2021, in order to achieve a balanced budget, staff recommended and the board approved a 4% temporary salary reduction for full-time staff, with the understanding that we would come back at mid-year to discuss reinstating some or all of that if we could. So in looking at our mid-year budget, which we'll do next in more detail, some of the things that we want to look for to see if this is a viable option for us is whether our revenues are relatively in line with what we forecast, are our expenditures in line with what we budgeted, and have we identified any potential savings that we could use to pay for the difference in salaries. So as we all know, this has been kind of a challenging budget year, trying to figure out what we will actually have coming in and what we will have going out. But in looking at our mid-year tax collections, at our different revenues, and at our expenditures, we are overall in pretty solid ground. There's not a lot of differentiation from this year to prior years, which we'll look at next in the next report. Our expenditures are pretty much where we had anticipated that they would be. We have identified some savings in different areas. Recreation has identified some significant savings, provided that they're not going to be doing some of their programming. So it really depends on what we're allowed to open up in the next few months. And our tax revenues are strong, and our expenditures, as I said, are on target. We will, there'll be a little bit of a change in our regular salaries, which we'll talk about in the next staff report. So overall, we sat down as a management team. We discussed what seemed reasonable in looking at the budget and reviewing it. And overall, the total cost for a 4% increase would be about $20,000 with all the salaries and the benefits that are associated with it, like the CalPERS retirement, which is tied to salary amount. And then a 2% increase would then obviously be $10,000.
Is that an annualized cost?
Yes.
Okay, for the full year. Okay, thank you.
No, I'm sorry. That's just for the next, so starting this pay period and through the end of the year.
All right.
Otherwise, it would have been 40,000. But we are recommending not retroing that back. So we sat down, we looked at the cost. We did identify it around $10,000 in savings from travel and conferences, from office supplies, from a bunch of things that we're not spending and we're not going to spend likely. So we can cover that 10,000, 20,000, put us in a little more of a precarious position. So the recommendation is that going through the end of this year, adding back the 2%, looking at the next 2% for next budget year. So hoping to add that back in starting in 21-22, which we're starting next month already. So that's the recommendation. It was approved by both committees as well as the Employees Association, who we spoke with as well. And now it's before you to discuss and approve or not.
I'd love to hear from my fellow members that are on those committees that approved it, and just their thoughts and why they chose to approve it and why they think we should approve it.
Yeah, so the Budget and Finance Committee is Delinda and myself as far as board members go, and we went line by line and looked at all the different budget items, and it seems very reasonable with the offsets and the savings that we have within the current budget to reinstate this 2% increase.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Personnel and Management Committee, John and I, we listened to the Mike and Jennifer explain the current financial situation for the district, and it seemed reasonable to take this halfway step to restore some of the cuts that we made to the employee salaries when things look pretty dire. They don't look quite so bad now, and it made sense to take this halfway step and see where it goes before doing a full 4%. But it didn't seem fair to continue that for the employees, because it is quite a hardship when things do seem to be improving. So I had a question though for the budget, and John, do you want to chip in on that too?
No, I would agree with you, Ralph. You captured my thoughts as well.
My one thought about the financial thing with Dave leaving, there's kind of a wash. There's the payout of his vacation and other benefits, but there's also probably going to be a savings from a lag in backfilling the position. Is that pretty much a wash? Has that been taken into account with the financial analysis?
Yes, we were aware of Dave leaving when we looked at all of this. So
that's been worked in. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions, concerns? Hearing none, motion to approve the 2% reinstatement.
I would make that motion to approve the recommendation as stated in the staff report.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion approves unanimously. Thank you.
If I may, on that one real quick, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I just want to publicly recognize once again the staff for really participating in the district's financial health throughout this pandemic. they did take a sacrifice, and they've done a wonderful job throughout this time.
Duly noted. And I'm sure I speak for the entire board, is that they've been extremely cooperative whenever we've been, kind of squeezed. And now that we aren't quite as squeezed, I think it's appropriate to reinstate as quickly as we can, get back to that 4% that they lost.
And it must be noted too, the Employees Association has been very reasonable and cooperative, and has been good in working with us on this whole situation.
Okay. Anything else? No? C 8.3, receive and file. It's the fiscal year 2021 mid-year budget review and update.
And again,
that's
I'm going
me
to give that to
again.
Jen. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to share my screen here. Are you all seeing my delightful spreadsheet here?
Yes.
Excellent.
You
Okay.
get the magnifying glass soon.
I know, I'm sorry about the size of it. Mario does his best, but it's a lot of information.
This is the same as what we have on our staff report, correct?
Correct. And I just want to talk mostly about this last column right here, because this is our current budget. So the way this is structured is our current budget is right here in this column. Next to it is what we have spent for expenditures, what we've collected down here for revenues, and then the percent of our budget that we have expended or collected. And then these columns to the left are historical for comparison purposes. So they go back 4 years. There's actually a 5th year hidden in here, but it was way too much information to put on one spreadsheet. So you get the last 4 to look at. And we'll go over each category, each item, and talk about those. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer those as we go through. So overall, for salaries and benefits, we'll start with that. For 2021, we budgeted about 1.8 million. Now that includes all the full-time salaries, all part-time salaries, any associated payroll costs are all in that one category. And you can see if you look back at prior years, last year was a bit higher, but we're in the same ballpark as we have been for the last 3 years. 16-17 was a lot less. But 17-18 is the year that we made that very large salary adjustment for most positions. So for period 7, which is through the end of January, we have expended a little over $1 million. It's a little less than we have in prior years. We did make some adjustments, as you know, the 4% salary decrease, as well as some position changes that we made. So we are right about 58% expended, which is exactly the percentage of the year that has passed. Now, in this whole category, some of our budget items are going to be a little bit different than what we budgeted. For example, our full-time salaries, as we said, we're changing positions around. We're losing Dave, and we lost another park worker back in the fall. So we're hiring 2 new positions, and we've had some savings over the year, not filling that position yet. So we'll have a little savings there. We did elevate a part-time position, Ian, from a senior rec leader, which was part-time, into a full-time staff person to do all of our tech that we have desperately needed for these last few months. So that will change that bottom line a little bit, but overall we'll have some savings there, I think, with both the salaries and the benefits. So the $10,000 should not change the fact that we'll probably become balanced at the end of the year in our salaries and benefits. If you look historically over the past few years, we're right around the same expenditure percentage as we have been. So no surprises there and no concerns. Next is our services and supplies. This is our general operating budget, what we spend day to day to keep the district running. We budgeted a little over 1.1 million. We've spent about half of that. That's about typically where we are this time of year. Not sure what happened in 17-18, but we are usually a little over halfway expended because we do pay a lot of our contracts and things up front at the beginning of the year. So we spend less in the second half of the year typically. We have identified some areas, as we talked about, for savings in expenditures, probably some rec savings, which will be offset probably by some unrealized revenue, but there will be some savings there. We'll have some other savings in operating costs, and you'll see that at the end of the year. So
Jennifer?
Mario, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm kind of surprised it is about in line with the past few years, just considering we've had so many less offerings, right? So many less events, so many less things. So can you kind of walk me through what the rationale or why that is where it's
Absolutely.
been? Yeah.
There are a couple of categories that are included in that overall amount that you'll see change, because if you look down here in our capital, under equipment, we budgeted money in there for computer and tech upgrades, which we've spent up here, but really they're going to be moved down here. So that's about $30,000 in difference, as well as a contract or AMS contract.
Gotcha.
We'll be moving money in for that. So both of those things is about $60,000.
Okay.
So you'll see some significant savings by the end of the year.
Great.
Our rec savings is
That's what I would have
large,
guessed. Yeah.
very large. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so this next line, this is actually part of this services and supplies account. But Mario always pulls it out because it varies so much from year to year. This is where we put, as he explains down here, capital items in progress and awaiting transfer to our fixed asset account. So when we used to budget for projects, we would budget in this account. So and then we would transfer it down here later, and it made a big mess out of this. So we've tried to stop doing that. You'll notice that there's a lot less money in this account this year. These are mostly park and facilities set-asides. And we haven't actually spent very much of that, but he pulls it out because it creates, the variance is messy for this line item. So this is just this one account. And like I said, we try not to budget capital items in there anymore. So you'll see that in our capital accounts down here. Our next item is other charges, tax, license, and assessments. This is our property taxes that we pay on all of our parcels, as well as our license agreements with the county. That's fully expended for the year. We're not going to probably spend any more of that. Buildings and structures. So now we're getting into our capital budget. You all budgeted quite a bit in our capital accounts this year. Our building and structures is the bulk of that. That is all the different projects that we budgeted for. That's our Miller Park Picnic Pavilion, the parking lot in the back part of Miller Park, preschool renovations, and what's the other one? Oh, Strang Park. There was a large amount budgeted for Strang Park out of our impact fees. So all of that is right here in this $959,000. You can see that we have not spent any of that yet. We do anticipate spending some of it. Some of that project work is going to get started. And whatever doesn't get spent will be rolled over into next year if you guys approve the same projects for the capital budget for next year.
So Jennifer, where do we account for the architectural fees and all of that for the bond projects?
That's in a different budget. That's not even in this budget. We're not looking at that. That's our bond budget. And we're not reviewing it, although Director Tamani did bring that up in our committee meeting, why we're not, and it's really because we haven't done it before. So it wasn't even on my radar to do it, but we will be reviewing that budget as well. There's not a lot of expenditures going on there, but there's enough that we can look at it and you can see what we have spent.
But it is pretty much a whole standalone budget for bond, so it makes sense.
Yep.
Have it a separate budget item.
Yeah, so we'll be having to review two budgets from now on. It just hasn't been something that we've done before, so we didn't even think about it.
Jennifer, so last year we didn't use any of the 48,000 in the contingency, and that just rolled over into 2021 as well.
Well, so I'll explain how the contingency, why it looks weird like this. So normally we budget $100,000. This year we only budgeted $50,000. But so what happens is when we spend money out of the contingency account, the county then re-budgets it at the amount that's left. So if you're looking at these numbers, this is what was left at this point in time last year. So we had spent $52,000 last year, $55,000 the year before, 39,500 and 60,000 in the prior years. So that was one of the reasons we only budgeted 50,000 this year. It helped us to keep some of the money more liquid in our regular operating budget, so we didn't have to come to you for stuff. And as you can see, we haven't spent any of that yet this year, and we don't actually anticipate spending it. So what will happen with that is it will roll over into next year.
Okay.
All right. And so the next line item that we will look at is the intra-fund reimbursements. This is our assessment district money. So instead of representing this as revenue, we represent it as reimbursement to ourselves for what we're spending within the district operating budget. So we budgeted 660,000. We've brought in a little over half of that. That's pretty typical for prior years. It's a little bit less because we kept a little bit in the fund for a project, and I can't remember what it was, something that Mike wanted us to keep $10,000 in there for. It's still sitting in the fund and we did not transfer it in. But we're pretty much right on target with that one. So if you come down here to this percentage, this 39% total expenditures, it looks like we haven't spent that much, but this number actually encompasses the capital stuff, the contingency. So it's not a really good representation of what we've actually spent. You would want to look more up here. This is what we've actually spent out of what we budgeted. Okay. So we can move on to revenue unless there's some questions about expenditures.
Jennifer, just to make clear, when it's through period 7, that constitutes what, 58% of the, so I try to keep that one in mind too. So we should focus on that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we have to, we can't look, we have to look at the end of January because we don't get our distribution of property tax until mid-January. So we want to have that to look at. Otherwise, it's not really a good representation of where we actually are with our budget unless we see what we're getting for our first installment of property taxes, which comes around January 15th. So then we can talk about our property taxes. That's the next item here. It's our revenue. We budgeted 1.9 million. We've brought in a little over $1 million, 57% of what we budgeted. That's a little higher. Normally, it should be about 55%. So you can see that we'll have a little bit extra, probably about 2% higher than what we budgeted at the end of the year, which is great. We budgeted fairly conservatively for property taxes because we didn't really know what they were going to do, but our assessed valuations were strong and remain strong and continue to look strong going into next year. So it looks like next year will also be.
Jennifer, does the county provide any reporting on delinquencies?
Yes, they do. They do. That's listed here. Where is it? So we collected some secured delinquencies. The teeter money that we get. So that's if there are delinquencies, the county funds those and then they collect them and they keep the fees that are
associated.
So it's kind of hard to read. It's not a significant amount, probably less than 1%.
Yeah, I think we just got our notification for this year. I think it was like 17,000 so it's always a year behind. We don't get that money until the next
more than
fiscal year.
1%, obviously.
Yeah.
6 or 7%.
I'd have to find out the exact amount. I don't know.
Anyway, okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Sure. All right, so that's total for taxes. Like, as I said, that's a pretty strong number. That's good. We're happy with that. Revenue from use of property and money. This is a kind of varied category. The first one is our interest income. This is the interest from the investments from the county pooled investment fund, which we'll talk about a little bit later. We budgeted 10,000 based on prior years, and we don't know yet what we're going to get. They don't distribute that until the very end of the year usually, but we don't anticipate seeing anything significant changing there. Their investments are very conservative. They're not really tied too much to the stock market, so they don't really go up and down a whole lot. So that should be pretty much where we have budgeted. Our other building rental, that's our facility rentals. This was a tough one to budget because we really didn't know it was going to be open, and we did anticipate a lot of closures just from construction and then additionally from COVID. So that's a pretty low number for us. However, you can see that we haven't brought in a whole lot because everything's been closed. that $6,000 is mostly field rentals and tennis court rentals. And we're hoping that with warm weather and some of the lifting of some of the restrictions, we'll get close maybe to this. And if we don't, this is not a significant dollar amount. So even if we don't get any of it, you know, it's not going to impact our bottom line very much. Ground leases, that's our cell tower leases. We're right where we should be with that. Maybe a little higher than was budgeted. And then the next categories are intergovernmental revenue. The first item is our homeowners property tax exemption. That is money that the state reimburses us for the homeowners property tax exemption of $7,000 that you get on your taxes from the county. The state backfills that for us. So this is what we budgeted for the full year. We've collected almost 50%. We anticipate that being pretty close to what we budgeted. In lieu taxes and other, so this is where we bring in funds from our in lieu fees when we're going to do capital projects. So if nothing comes here, if there's no money, no revenue coming in, that just means that we're not spending it up here. So once we spend here, we bring the money in here and it's a wash. So it's not true revenue. Our rec service charges, that's our programs and events and all the things that we've been not able to have for the last few months. You know, they did a great job trying to forecast what they were going to be able to do. We have been able to keep some of our programs open, our preschool camps, some of our outdoor sports programs. So we do have some revenue coming in. We probably will have some more. We may not get all the way to this number, but we'll get close. And we also have some revenue offset up here if we don't. It's not exactly a one-to-one, but it's about 70% of the costs. So we'll recoup about 70% of the lost revenue through savings. Okay, last category is our miscellaneous revenues, donations and contributions we don't budget for because we really don't get those. If we do, they usually go through our foundation and not directly into our operating budget. Miscellaneous other, this is another capital account where we bring in capital money from other funds. It's also where we bring in things like our CalCard rebate and dividends from our insurance companies, things like that. Again, not much of this has come in because we haven't done any of our spending up here. So those will correlate to each other. And if we look at our bottom line here, we can see that we've brought in about 37% of our expected revenue. Again, that's a little off because the capital revenues throw it off a bit. However, if you compare this number, 39% of total expenditures to 37% of collected revenues, we're pretty close to being balanced, especially considering that we spend less in the second half of the year, and we're hoping to bring in more revenue in the second half of this year.
Yeah.
So overall, we anticipate a balanced budget.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Great presentation, Jennifer.
Any questions other than what have already come up? So this is just a receive and file. And as we move forward, I'm sure that if anything out of the ordinary happens, you'll bring it to our attention, both of you will. Thank you. Item number 8.4, another receive and file, the Gorman art photo reproduction update. Mike, is this yours? Mute.
Yes, that is mine. I'm just pulling up some files here. Let me get these up.
This one's exciting.
Yes, it is. I think it is. Yes, I've enjoyed this project. It's been a fun project to work on. A little background here for the public and for folks here. The mosaic in Plaza Park was created in 1999, and the mural on the amphitheater wall was created in 1985 by our local artist, Hugh Gorman. And both those are located in the Plaza Park area of the parks. Those are scheduled to be removed as part of the Measure J projects. And the board had directed staff to investigate the possibility of removing and relocating both the art pieces prior to the renovations. We did the investigation of that, brought in a firm to give us some cost estimations. The removal for the mosaic was $90,000, and the removal of the mural was $240,000. This was as we were trying to save those pieces of art. And this did not include the storage nor the reinstalling of those pieces of art. You determined, and plus the construction firm could not guarantee that the pieces would be not be destroyed during the renovation or during the removal. So at the September 16th board meeting, you directed staff to begin the official process to remove the art without saving it at this point in time. You directed me to also create a photographic reproduction of both the art pieces. On October 27th, the official notification was given to Mr. Gorman that the art pieces would be removed, and that if he wanted to remove the art himself at his expense, he had 90 days to do so. In November 2020, a 30-day notice was published to the public with that same intent, that if anybody was interested in it, the art, that they could, at their expense, remove it. We did not receive any responses either from the artist or from the public on that, and the art is now scheduled to be removed by a contractor and not saved. So we have been continuing throughout this process working on the options for displaying and making these reproductions of the art. And these would be photograph reproductions. I want to be clear on that. And we hired an incredible photographer, Jeff Litton, who has done an amazing job preparing the mural for photographs, photographing the mural. It is a 45-foot mural. I want you to think about taking a photograph of that and making it work. It's multiple layers stitched together, tons of time in editing the colors and blending them back together in making that thing work. Also cleaning it, just getting it ready for the picture itself. And then the mosaic, the same thing, and being able to take a picture of that from up in the air using a drone and be able to get a high resolution photos of that. We've got the photos done at this point in time. And I'm going to start showing some of those here just so you can see the actual art as it came through with a high resolution photo. I did put in the board report some of the art, but it does not have the high resolution. So I'm going to share the screen now with you.
Can I ask you a question, Mike? Did
You bet.
board members get an opportunity to view the samples that like I did?
No, not yet. I don't know if anybody's come into the office. I wasn't in the office this week to see if anybody came in the office to look at the 3D rendering, but not that I'm aware of. But these will be available for viewing, specifically the 3D one. These files that I'm showing you now are rather large, and I can give you a link to them, but I can't attach them to an email or anything like that because of the size of them. So anyway, this is the photo here, whoops, that you're looking at, and you can start seeing the detail here in it as we go into it, and you can see wording on the pictures. I get this.
So the mosaic, we were planning on having a picture of the mosaic too.
Yes, as part of the display, someplace, wherever that place may be. Yes.
So a picture of both the mosaic and a picture of the whole
the mural.
Okay, the mural and the mosaic. Okay.
Correct. So anyway, that's the mosaic there. Picture is done. We haven't done anything beyond creating the picture. So that's what we have there. And let me go on to the next one. Oh, get these out here. The mural, and if you recall, the mural has these dents basically in alcoves on the wall throughout, and there's actually a door right here that we photoshopped and just kind of touched up there to get everything in it. So that is the, whoops, darn it.
We're still seeing the mosaic.
Yeah, oh, you are, okay. All right, so anyway, that mosaic there, you're still seeing the mosaic. Oh, okay. I haven't done this one. New share, let's try that. It's not that. I'm having a hard time here getting the right things up. Sorry,
I was amazed by the high resolution view of the mosaic. It shows better than it does when you're standing on it, to me.
Yeah, with that high resolution, you really do. Come on.
And when you home in, you can really see.
There you go. Now you should be able to see the mural. You're seeing the mural now?
Nope.
Just the mosaic.
You'll see the mosaic.
I'm gonna stop sharing, sorry all, and go back and reshare it, and let's see if we can get it right.
The mural too looks incredibly, in my opinion, sharper and better in the photographic reproduction than it does when you're standing on the street.
There you go. Now, whoops.
There it is. We got, oh, Mike, so close.
I was so close. One more. I'm gonna get it.
You showed the detail.
I was practicing on this too. That's the word. That's the hard part here.
Never practice, Mike.
Therein lies your mistake.
It's gonna be easier someday.
Lights turn.
Yeah.
It's still going better than this morning's status meeting by Zoom.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not a consolation. All right, hopefully there.
No.
God, you son of a gun. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna go backwards.
Someone else share?
I don't think that's not the issue.
And look
for
carefully
me.
because it's going to go by fast. So
No, because I'm not going to click it this time. Sorry, y'all. That has to be right. Yes?
Nope.
Nope, blank screen.
the black cat eating licorice and
If you just click the image you want to share and then hit share screen, it should do it.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Well, anyway.
All right. Well,
there we go. Don't do anything. Don't do
okay,
a
I'm
thing.
stopping.
don't
stopping.
breathe.
Dope.
Oh,
We lost
he did a
it.
thing. He did a thing.
This is before I get. You're seeing the mosaic now?
No.
Come on.
Saw it for about,
2 seconds.
yeah, maybe 3.
Yeah.
We can
yeah.
see it. We have it in our board packet. I'm looking
Okay,
at
yeah, you do have it.
it. Looks
And so anyway, the point being there that we have a high resolution photo and it is something that we can work with now. And we'll be able to have a high-end reproduction of it. And the 3D piece that we've been working on, we also have a copy in the office, a live picture of it. You can't really see it on the screen because the 3D is different. Now, I'd like you to look at that in my office, but you probably received some comments from Hugh Gorman, and he's absolutely correct that we actually need to look at the artist has the right for us on the reproductions. We have to have permission from him to officially reproduce that art. And so if it's going to be 3D, it needs to be approved by Hugh prior to us actually producing it. Or if we're going to do the photo, it's same thing. So whatever we do, we're going to want Hugh's approval, Mr. Gorman's approval on that. And I'll work with him on that. But I wanted to give you an idea of what we've got going on so far. The good thing is we've got the pictures of the mural. We've got the pictures of the mosaic. We can produce them in a high quality, some kind of high quality display. And we have 18 months to figure that out and what that's going to look like. So we've got time on our side now to be able to work through this. I am proposing to bring this back to you in September with the staff recommendation, and I'll probably individually talk to each one of you and get some kind of input on what you may or may not want to see, and then still work with Hugh on the legal end of it, making certain that we're following all the legal processes that we have to, and that we are doing honor to the art and making it correct. One of the big concerns is that we did produce an 18-inch sample in height and 24 inches wide. And that's the sample that's in my office right now. And if just to get that 18-inch height of the mural and to keep it in the ratio that the mural is in, that would be 7 feet 6 inches long, that reproduction. There is room in the renovated amphitheater, the community center. There is room for that display. So that was one thing I wanted to be certain is, like, is it possible even to display it that long? It is possible. It is something, again, that the board would have to, agree to and direct staff to produce, whether it be a picture or whether it be the 3D or whatever it's going to be of that size. Currently, I do recommend that 18 inches be the minimum, but if the board thinks otherwise, it can be done in a smaller format. But remember that ratio is there's no way we're going to get that ratio any different. So if we drop it down in half, 9 inches, for an example, in height, it'll be a 3 foot 2 and 3 foot 3 inches in terms of length. So that ratio is going to consistently be there. So that's important to kind of keep in mind as we go through this. And it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around all of that and how big this thing is. And for the details to be shown to the public, it is an incredibly detailed mural. So anyway, that's what I have. I can answer any questions.
So we have, sorry, Director.
No, please go ahead.
So we have this at 7 foot something. What about the size for the mosaic?
Yeah, I don't have a good sample of the sizing of that like we do with the mural. It isn't as hard to make it in a size that is not, I guess, large. I mean, it could be it's pretty square size, oval wise, so it's probably could be a 24 by 24 type of thing.
Gotcha.
And still be able to be seen in an appropriate manner.
Okay. So yeah, my just questions and comments to the board is we're just kind of, directing the district on kind of what we're thinking about size wise. Obviously the walls that I'm looking at that they have proposed as possible places, we have an 11 foot and a 12 foot wall. So obviously this would very much be a staple piece. This would very much be a centerpiece. This would be very prevalent. Obviously, especially if we did a 3D. I think if we did it this big, I probably would say do the 3D because I think that would be cool. Again, I'm not sold on the size. I don't feel that it needs to be that size, but I definitely am here for thoughts on that. I also don't remember being clear. I don't remember knowing that we were doing a thing for the mosaic. I don't know if you all thought we were doing one for both. I knew we were doing one for the mural, but I don't remember a mosaic. But I think a 24 by 24 or something like that sounds appropriate if we want to do that. I don't necessarily know we want both of those right there. I think we could put that mosaic perhaps with some other beautiful things from the community in the hallway or something else there. So those are my thoughts.
Just so I'm clear, what exactly is the difference between the picture and the 3D? The 3D is like a textured type photo, or?
No, you've probably seen movie posters that are in 3D. That's probably where you see the most of these types of things from the movie theaters. But it is the way the mural works that now is it is almost, it's got different corners and things like that in it. So it's not a flat picture. It really does have almost a 3D look to it. And that's what this recreates. As you walk by it, you pick up another piece of it And as you move a different way, you pick up a different piece of the mural, just as you would if you're looking at it. For an example, on the bridge that's there on the mural, if you look carefully at it out there at the amphitheater now, you'll see someone jumping off the bridge. You may not know that yet. You may not have ever noticed that. It's kind of interesting when you start working on it. It's like, oh wow, I didn't know that was there. And then you ask Hugh about it, and he tells you a great story.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it is very interesting. Even without the 3D, you'll see some of these fine details, but you really got to pay attention at that point.
Delinda, you got a comment?
I do. So I know that Mr. Gorman, when he submitted the letter or the notes to today or comments today regarding essentially the demolition of the physical art itself, when do you anticipate this will actually happen? And what can we do to kind of talk through with Mr. Gorman about the pieces of the mural itself? Because I know he had some very specific questions.
Yeah, and he has some legal questions I do have to clear up with our legal representative on that, our legal team, and determine if those statements that he's making are correct. But I'm not disputing them, but I want to make certain that we're doing the right thing. So if we were to, for an example, to when the mural comes down, the pieces of the mural, one of the questions that Mr. Gorman has is are those owned by Hugh, Mr. Gorman, or are they owned by the district? And that's a clarification question I need to get answered. I don't think it changes anything really from our point of view, because if Mr. Gorman wanted them, I'm almost certain that the district would say, oh yes, you can have them if you'd like. But so that's one question we need to clear up. And for when we take this mural down, when it does come down, right now we're scheduled for, this is a plus or minus estimation, so please take it with a grain of salt. We're looking sometime right around the end of March, excuse me, right around the end of March. Could be early April. But the tenants are out right now. They're the final tenants moving out tomorrow, and then we'll be able to get in there with the rest of the hazardous material team and start going through that. And then we have to go to bid for the demolition. So if the bids were crazy high, or if nobody bid on it, this can all change, but that's where we're at. We are going to do a sampling where there's a part of the mural that is dedicated to Hugh, Mr. Gorman's deceased sister. We're going to go in with our crew and some other help from our construction management folks and try and get that piece out prior to the demolition. So we'll have a fairly good idea of what it could look like if we really put the effort into it. Now, the problem with that is that we don't know how that'll all come out. When you take a middle piece versus a bottom piece, all those types of things like that. So it's not really a good indicator, but we might be able to have a sampling of what it would look like as we take it down. The contractor itself, when the contractor, whoever gets this bid to remove the mural, they have a liability that they have to follow as well. They cannot let the public come in and bring their sawzalls and start cutting out pieces of the mural. That liability would just be insane for all of us to have that happen. So it's not recommended that we do it that way. And if we ask the contractor to take that type of care, the cost for this is going to start skyrocketing in the actual process. And we will see that similar type of cost that we had for just the removal, the careful removal. We're going to see this cost just skyrocket. So we're going to kind of find that balance point if we can, but I'm not sure what it's going to look like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Mike, when are we going to have a report back in March on this?
On the demo, yes, on the demo as it goes forward, and you will have reports back on that. In terms of the actual art, we'll be bringing that back in September.
I'd like to add something too, and it's a compliment to Mike for taking this task on. He's done a fantastic job. I couldn't ask for more. I've known Hugh for many, many years. I know that this is an emotional thing for him, his artwork there. And in light of the fact that we're trying to make the village a venue for art and art shows and performing arts and all of that. I think it speaks well for the district that we're taking these extra steps to, preserve an asset that we've already got, or at least do our best to mitigate the loss of that asset. So I think it's fantastic. One other thing I wanted to add is after I saw the photograph of the mosaic, I was so impressed with how much better it presents with that detail. And Mike and I discussed an idea of recreating that in the stage area in front of the new community center. We have a round stage area, and I know there's a process by which art like this can be put into tiles, like mosaic tiles, just regular square tiles, but the art itself can be embedded in that under the glaze. And I thought, oh, that might be a pretty good idea to investigate, so just throwing that in too. I don't know what the costs are or whether the board has any interest in that, but that's another alternative for recreating the spirit of that piece of art. In any case, we're doing an admirable job of mitigating an artistic asset that we currently have, and not just bulldozing it and running roughshod over that, because it speaks to the attitude of the Park District about our aspiration for an art center.
Other comments from board members? Do we have any guests that would like to speak to the item? Ian?
If anybody would like to, just raise your hand and I can get you in there. No, doesn't look like anybody, John.
Okay, all right. So this is a receive and file, and Mike, you'll keep us posted on as we move forward. Muted.
The only thing I would ask that the Director Carhart's comments, would you like me to look into the possibility and the cost of a production of the mosaic in a tile? So it'd be a picture of the mosaic on the tile. It would not be a recreation of the mural or the mosaic itself.
So you're saying, so then is Director Carhart saying that he would like to see both a picture that we're hanging some sort of art installation as well as having it in tiles? That's part of a stage. Is that what Director Carhart?
One or the other, Raymond James. I think it would be kind of cool if it's not too expensive, that it be reproduced on the tiles, and it's not actually a mosaic. Every little piece is not done individually.
Right.
It's reproduced on tiles so that it has that same sort of ambiance as what there is in there now.
My inclination would be no, for a couple of reasons. One, it being built in again, we now have again another issue of something being built in. So if we ever had to make renovations, make changes, I see us having similar issues that we've had with this process. And then secondly, to I think some of the fellow directors and perhaps your comment of it looks so good in the production of the high quality print that I think that having it in tiles might take away from that. And it is showing so beautifully in the picture that's really, if we're going down this route and we've spent the time doing that, I think that's the way we should continue to do it.
Director James makes a good point, and if in 30 or 40 years, another board is faced with the same kinds of issues, with the right of the artist and so on and so forth. I fall on Raymond's side. I mean, the high resolution picture is fantastic. It's beautiful, and I've walked over and around that mosaic for probably 40 years, and I've never seen it look like that. Yeah. So there's a lot of value in preserving it photographically, I think.
And it's mobile.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so can we move on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Item 8.5, discussion and possible action regarding naming the new community center.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and directors, I'm going to pass this on to Katie, and she's going to give this report.
Good evening, board and community of Fair Oaks. My name is Katie Koss. I'm the recreation superintendent for the district. And I am here tonight to present the board report, discussion and possible action regarding the naming of the new community center facility that is a part of the Village Park Plaza Park and Community Clubhouse Master Plan. It also incorporates the original Veterans Memorial Amphitheater Master Plan as one whole project. The recommendation is to approve the proposed name Fair Oaks Village Park Community Center. A little background on this, and at the December Board of Directors meeting, the board directed staff to begin discussions on firming up a naming process for that facility so that we could pass that on to our architect and our construction management firm as a part of the process for that project. And then we did meet with the Community Resources Development Committee on January 14th, which is Director O'Farrell and Director Irwin, to also discuss the naming of the facility. Out of that meeting came the recommendation of the Fair Oaks Village Park Community Center, with points being made that we'd like to, in a wayfinding strategy, make sure Fair Oaks is a part of our titles for facilities to get people to us. And then recognize the overall naming of Village Park for the whole project. And that is how the name came about. And we do need to get a final name for our architect so that signs can be ordered to identify the outside of the building. There's no financial impact per se on the district in addition to what's already outlined in our budget for the project through Measure J. So we are asking, staff is asking on behalf of the Community Resources Committee, who is also recommending that the facility be named the Fair Oaks Village Park Community Center. Are there any further questions?
No, that's good report, Katie. Yeah, Ralph and I obviously were part of that whole discussion, and to your point, we wanted to recognize the community center, we wanted to recognize the park, and so that it's a rather long name, but it reflects, I think, both of those concepts.
I have a question and a comment. I'm certainly not going to put up a fight against what the Community Resource Committee and its participants recommended. My question is, on the front of the community center, are we going to put Fair Oaks Village Park Community Center or just Village Park Community Center? That's a heck of a lot of lettering to put on the front of the building.
We identified, Director Carhart, the strategy which follows some of our other naming strategies, where Fair Oaks might be slightly smaller and sit right above that, and then have the full title in a little bit larger lettering, so that really what you see predominantly when you walk up will be Village Park Community Center, but that Fair Oaks will sit nestled above it.
That's great. It's kind of like our monument signs that we have. The other question I have is, early on, we had talked about renaming the entire facility there, the plaza and the Village Park and everything, renaming it all Village Park. And we had talked about calling the plaza in Village Park, okay? Which is why I had originally recommended it be the Plaza Community Center. And I'm not going to argue that anymore. I think it's pretty well settled. But in the text here, we still use the term Plaza Park, and I'm kind of confused. Are we going to phase that out and call the plaza? And if so, are we going to sign that as the plaza? Or, it's had that name since the 20s, maybe since the teens, for 100 years, it's been referred to as the plaza. So I don't know that we've thought that out completely. So you have any comment on that?
Director Carhart, that's great questions, and maybe Michael chime in, but I do know we've talked about, and Sean and I have walked the whole park with some signage recommendations, because we will need to develop wayfinding signs through the whole park to get you where you're going. And one of those recommendations is to possibly have just a plaza sign that goes along with the seating area in the front. But I do know the recommendation is also to name the whole parcel Village Park. And I know we've discussed that. I don't know that we finalized that in an actual board vote. The reason you see Plaza Park in this board report is because the name of the project for county documents and everything that's going through CALA and WMB, that's the original naming of the project. So it stays that way all the way through in terms of iCity work and everything, so we can keep a consistent marketing for that project for the community.
That makes sense. And we'll phase that term out when later. I'm just thinking maybe there's a way graphically or artistically to have the words plaza either embedded in a wall or in the pavement, or some artwork that says plaza, just in a tribute to the long-standing name of that. And I think my first concern was whether the community clubhouse would be mistaken for this if people were directed to the Village Park Community Center, as that used to be Village Park. But I think we've been a little ambiguous on what the clubhouse has been called. Usually it's called the community clubhouse, but it also over the years has been called the community center in everything. And I gather that will be that'll be, what is the name for the clubhouse, rather than put words in your mouth? Tell me.
Community Clubhouse. We have a consistent branding through all of our marketing materials in terms of the activity guide and maps and everything. But you are correct. The community itself calls it a few different things, just like they call the parks chicken parks. So we are going to have a consistent look and feel for the facility sign on the outside of the facilities. So the same type of style and sign that we will use for this new facility, we will also be making for the community clubhouse and putting on the outside of the building, as well as the arts and crafts building, so that you see a consistent look and feel. It stands out to you and you know the difference, as well as some future proposals for some maps and wayfinding signs that will identify that as
Great.
well.
So as I would visualize it, it has the small Fair Oaks and then community clubhouse.
Correct.
It wouldn't say Village Park Community Clubhouse. It would be Fair Oaks Community Clubhouse. It sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think that just brings up a good point, which I'm sure that will happen, Katie, and probably in our ad hoc committee as well, Director Carhart. But I think it'd be great for when we get further down the road for to come back to the whole board to show what the new, kind of marketing PR will be, for the signs, what they're going to look like, how everything's going to match, the design work. I think we would all be really interested to see that.
Definitely.
Great.
Any additional questions?
One question, the monument sign that's currently in Village Park, what does that say? That says Village Park and that stays?
Mike, you'll have to answer that one. I'm not sure if that Village Park sign is staying.
I thought it was, but I'm not 100% convinced it is. But
it might be. I think we discussed in our last meeting.
Yeah.
It might possibly go away so everything can match, perhaps, with the new signage.
Yeah. I'd have to look. There's a lot of signage discussions going on.
Yeah,
it's one of those things.
Well, in our meeting, we also talked about some of the interior space of the community center, the Fair Oaks Park Village Community Center, whatever, and there was obviously we had the conversation with Barbara Sestico, but I would expect that the report back that you're going to bring on branding and marketing and naming will be all inclusive, and it's not only the exterior but the interior as well.
Yeah. Correct.
One last thought on the beam sign, the monument sign. If you recall, about 10 years ago, that was part of our branding effort to have those signs installed in all of our parks and all of our facilities, including the administration building and in Fair Oaks Park. And some other things. So that was part of the branding effort. For that reason, it may make sense to keep it there, even though it doesn't match some of the other things. It does match the system.
Director Carhart, we actually skipped that sign in that process 10 years ago. So that sign's still an old one. We didn't actually replace that one with the new monument planning. So it's
It
fairly,
has the same look to it. It's the same beam
Yeah.
on cobble posts. So, you know, while the text may be a little different, it was the model for everything else. Actually, that in the library, I think, remember, were the models for what we extended.
Hey, this, you know, I don't want to be criticized for holding the longest meeting that we've had, you know, in the last 12 months. So can we move on to the next item?
Yes.
Let's move on.
Please.
8.6 is discussion and possible action regarding review of memorial plaques, Village Park, Plaza Park, Community Clubhouse Master Plan.
And I'm once again passing this on.
I believe you have to, someone has to make a motion and second that last one.
Oh, the new name. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. You're right. You're right. Okay. A motion to approve the name of the new community center as the Fair Oaks Village Park Community Center.
So moved.
Second,
I'll
I'll
second.
second. Oops.
all in favor?
Aye.
Good. We got it. Okay. Okay. Now,
All right, the next board report is a discussion and also a possible action regarding the review of the memorial plaques that you'll see also as a part of the same Measure J project. And so the recommendation is to approve the items outlined in attachment A, which is a review of all of the plaques that exist outside of the facility, so in the outdoor aspects of the facilities. And this was direction given by the board also at the December 16th meeting, and also discussed in the Community Resources Development Committee meeting on January 14th. You can refer to attachment A, but I also detailed it out within the report of first, the plaques recommended for temporary removal and reinstallation based on the fact that they will still fit within that renovation being happening in the village. And then the second section is the plaques / items recommended for permanent removal. And by permanent removal, we will also facilitate coordinating, giving these plaques to the appropriate parties that originally participated in getting the plaques set up. And if those parties no longer exist in Fair Oaks, or sadly at all, our idea is to work with the Historical Society to see if they would like to put those in their center in the village. And so it's clearly outlined, items 1 through 6, and then item 1 through 5. If there are any specific questions, I can certainly clarify.
The only thing I would add, Katie, is where the Centennial time capsule is buried in front of the Rotary Arbor there, that originally had a plaque to indicate that the time capsule was buried there, and somehow it disappeared. I don't think it got buried. I think somebody pried it up and took it for the brass. So can we, when we relocate that, put some kind of plaque on it? That was buried in 1995 when we had the Centennial Committee and all the events that year for our centennial. And we are going to find some other place to exhume the time capsule and rebury it. So
I believe we've discussed with Cala, and Mike maybe can confirm, but I know Melissa has mentioned that there's a plan to remove and replace that somewhere else. In terms of a plaque, I would just need assistance with language before we could actually finalize a plaque.
yeah, the History Society can provide that, or I can make a suggestion that they can approve.
Yeah, and I know, Director Carhart, that the location that we've been looking at for that relocation has been on top of the play area there on the hillside, and up there in where the arbor will be in the picnic area for those folks there. So
I have to say that's totally not associated with the Rotary Arbor.
no, it's not.
That
No.
was just picked as a spot that wouldn't be tampered with in 100 years.
Yeah.
So of course we tampered with it. we thought that was a safe spot when it was buried. And it was intended to be dug up in 2095. It only made it a quarter century so far.
Well, maybe Raymond and Belinda and Katie might be around, possibly Darren, but Lee and me won't be,
That
so.
make me pretty old.
You got to keep riding your bike, Darren.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to approve the staff recommendation, please.
So moved.
Second, please.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, 8.7, adoption of resolution number 021721-01, extending workers' compensation coverage to volunteers. Resolution of the Board of Directors of Fair Oaks Recreation Park District declaring that board members and volunteers shall be deemed to be employees of the district for the purpose of providing workers' compensation coverage for said certain individuals while providing their services.
And I'm going to pass this on to Jennifer again.
Right. So this is the adoption of a resolution that will allow us to extend our current workers' comp coverage to our volunteers. In January, Capri sent us a notice. Capri is our workers' compensation insurance provider. And they are going to extend for free, so we're not paying for it, coverage to any volunteers that do work on behalf of the district, which includes the board, although the board technically are not volunteers because we pay you. So I don't think it covers you. We already pay for your workers' comp coverage. However, they have asked us to have you as the governing body adopt this resolution, which will allow us to extend our workers' comp coverage to all of our volunteers. It's a benefit to us in that we don't pay for it, and it's a benefit to them in that if somebody gets hurt while they're volunteering for us, they don't file a district claim against us. They go through the workers' comp system, which will provide them with the necessary medical, whatever they need. But it's more reasonable than having a claim filed. It's much less expensive
So
for them.
my only question with this, I think it's phenomenal, is I would presume we would need or should have then our volunteers saying that they agree to this, right? I assume we'll have some form that they have to sign saying they agree to that, because my thinking is if they don't or we have nothing in place, then what's to say that they won't then file a district claim? Because there's nothing in this saying that they are agreeing to it or that they have written anything. So that would be something, that's my question.
Okay, that's a good question. I will follow up with Capri on that. I'm
Almost
sure they
like,
must have some kind of a hold harmless agreement.
We can have that option they have to click when they sign up too, but they have to.
Yeah.
Director Farrell, what were you going to say?
I say, are we asking them to indemnify us?
Capri?
So Delinda, can you weigh in on this? Since you are our pro bono legal counsel?
I mean, I don't read that in the current resolution that we have. I guess it kind of depends on how, I was going to refer, actually, I think Katie was going to amend it when we have that software program that we use the district uses when volunteers sign up. And I was curious as well to know if there was already one, either I think there's an indemnification clause in there. And then if we could possibly add what Raymond James is suggesting, the workers' comp line in there.
We can definitely do that. We're switching from one to the other to make it all fit within our registration software. So we'll have one location for everything, but we will continue the same practice and add this language to what they have to click to finalize their volunteer status.
Two questions. What workers' compensation, if volunteer gets hurt out there, we pay for their medical bills and things like that. Do we pay for lost time at work or things like that associated? Would that cover that?
So our insurance would cover all of that. So they would make that determination through their process. We wouldn't decide that.
Okay.
It would be like any other workers' comp claim.
And the other question is, you mentioned the board is already covered by workers' comp. Is that only when we're out on the site inspecting things, or if we get hit by a meteor while we're on the board meeting or something?
Right.
Yeah,
Well, that sounds like an act of God. I don't think that's covered by workers.
I mean, it's work related when we're out actually doing something in the field or the office.
Let's go ahead and adopt the resolution.
I'll make a motion to adopt, to approve resolution number 021721-01, extending workers' compensation coverage to district volunteers.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay. 8.7, I'm sorry, 8.8. Discussion of possible action on approval of request for parks equipment, a brush chipper, and adoption of resolution number 02172102, amendment of the fiscal year 2020-2021 budget of the general fund, paren 3341A and paren fund center 9349341, to reflect an increase in the equipment / vehicle account, paren 43430 and paren to fund costs related to the purchase of a chipper, a wood chipper.
So I'm going to have Sean Ventura present this item.
Hello again, directors. I'm Sean Ventura, Park and Facilities Manager. Apologies for not introducing myself earlier. I won't take, again, much of your time. Most of the information is in my board report. I've come before you today to ask for your approval to allocate funds from our landscape and lighting funds, primarily from the Fair Oaks Landscape and Lighting Fund, but also from the Gum Ranch Landscape and Lighting Fund, for the purchase of a wood chipper for parks maintenance. As you likely already know, the landscape and lighting funds are not part of the general fund. They don't take any funding from capital budgets or anything like that. They're specific funds that can only be used for maintenance and equipment for specific areas in our district. The Gum Ranch Fund specifically can be spent at Madison Place Park and the new Gum Ranch Park, not the areas on the side of the creek that we just recently acquired, but the whole of the park there. The Fair Oaks Landscape and Lighting Fund can be used throughout the district, so it's a little bit more available to us and our needs. Currently, those funds, the Fair Oaks Landscape and Lighting Fund is sitting at $67,000, and the Gum Ranch Fund is sitting at $35,000. I'm requesting $30,000 from the Fair Oaks Landscape and Lighting Fund and the remainder of the balance from the Gum Ranch Fund for the purchase of the chipper. The chipper I've found is being sold under a Sourcewell contract, which is a cooperative purchasing contract, which essentially means that before we get to the product we're looking for, the product has been competitively bid already, which eliminates the need to go out for bids. They're verified, and the price is the best we're going to get for that type of equipment. We'd be purchasing it from RDO Equipment. It's just here in Sacramento. It would be a Vermeer wood chipper. They are known for a wider array of safety features as compared to other brush chippers. And I feel like it would be a great asset to our district. As you'll see later when I make a few staff comments, I'll go over the windstorm we had recently for a prime example, and how that took us quite a long time, because every time we'd get a couple of branches down, we'd have to bring it back to our maintenance shop, and we'd have to dump it into the green waste bin. And if we filled it up, we'd have to wait a couple of days for that to get emptied before we could go back out and start working. With a wood chipper, we'd be able to drop a limb or fell a tree and chip it on the spot, which saves just a massive amount of staff time. As I say in my board report, we spend on average $5,000 annually just on the green waste bin and wood chipper rentals. And that's not even counting the cost of the increased labor we have, where a project that could be done in a day instead takes 4, 5, 6, 7 days. That is the long and short of it. I won't bore you with additional details unless you have further questions, and I'd be happy to answer any of them.
In lieu of any questions, John, do you have questions?
I don't.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of a tow behind wood chipper using the said funds. and adopt resolution number 021721-02, amending the fiscal year 2021 budget of the general fund to reflect an increase in the equipment vehicles account and to fund the costs related to the purchase of said chipper.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Mhm. Enjoy your chipper.
Watch your fingers.
We are going to jump for joy when we hear the news.
Good.
Maybe
Good,
it'll
good,
bring
good.
Dave back.
So 8.9 is a receive and file Sacramento County annual investment policy of the pooled investment fund for calendar year 2021. Has anybody reviewed it? Belinda, I knew you would.
Yeah, I did.
Jennifer, any comments on it? Is the pooled investment fund looking good? Is it, are they still earning around 8% like they have historically?
Oh, go ahead, Jennifer.
I was gonna say, they don't tell us that in here, but go ahead.
I was actually going to ask you if they provide some sort of like report, like an annual. I understand this is the policy, but do they actually provide a report? And then is that something that is shared with, say, like the independent auditors, or do you see anything from them?
I've never seen it. I can find out if it's something they can provide. We've never reviewed it or seen it. I don't know who sees it other than the Board of Supervisors and the county.
Anybody that is involved in the Sacramento County pool should be able to get a copy of the report. So there are a number of special districts like our own that that use their services. So historically, it was like 6 or 7 or 8% annually on that return. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's like that anymore.
Well, I'll find out and I will send it to you if
You don't have to send it to me.
I'll send it to Delinda.
I would like to read it. So thank you.
Is this the committee that, or the group that Brendan Rose was on before?
Yes, and he just provided a link to us for
There you go.
for that. So I will forward that on to you.
Tonight. So thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
He's actually our 6th board member. What do you like the fans, for the Kings, Anyway, moving on to 8.10, discussion of possible action on the early retirement incentive program. Jennifer, I'm guessing this goes back to you again.
That's me again. All right, so this is something new that we've been discussing for a while. We've reviewed it with the Management and Personnel Committee, and essentially what it is something that's very common in other government agencies and businesses. It's an incentive, a cash incentive to retire maybe a little bit earlier than you were considering or staff was considering. So overall, our payroll and budget, salary and benefit budget is about 60% of our operating budget, which is high, but normal. And one of the ways that we can reduce that cost is to lay people off, which we don't want to do, or furlough people, which we don't want to do, or cut people's salaries, which we don't want to do. This is something that's kind of a benefit to both employees and the district. So when we met with the Personnel Management Committee, we went through the attachments. So there's a memorandum that outlines the policy. And basically it's a one-time opportunity. It would just be for a certain period of time, a couple of months, and only good for this coming fiscal year. You have to be 50 years old. You have to be eligible to retire through CalPERS. You have to be vested, which is 5 years in the CalPERS system. And currently there are 3 employees that are eligible. I thought there were 4, but there's actually only 3. I don't know if any of them would take advantage of it. You cannot be on probation. You can't be part-time. You can't be a retired annuitant. You can't already have put in for a retirement. And you must retire by the 15th of July, which is the beginning of the new fiscal year.
So the Management and Personnel Committee, John and I, thought this was a good tool for management, particularly in the COVID situation we got now. Just another good tool that models after what other districts do. So we were recommending approval of this.
I would agree. And historically, in fiscally stressed times, I know Sacramento County has offered up golden handshakes at least 2 different times while I was working there, and it's a good way to reduce the workforce and also compensate the employee for making the sacrifice.
I had a few questions. So if we were to, if employees were to take this and then they're gone, are we saying that we would not have to refill those positions, that we are able to keep those vacant, or would we have to then backfill that and hire people?
It depends on the position. I believe the 3 people that are eligible right now, we would have to backfill those positions, but we would be hiring at a lower, at the beginning of the salary ladder rather than
versus the end of it. Okay. And so we would still, though, in addition to this $10,000 payout, we would still have to pay out everything else per normal, right? We still have to give them the maximum on their sick leave, their vacation, and we
whatever
still,
they have.
right.
Yeah.
And we still have to be paying out retirement and paying into the pension and their health benefits and all that stuff, correct?
Well, the pension is covered by CalPERS. We no longer have to
Right.
deal with that once they're out, but the health benefits, yes.
Yeah, we do pay for
So,
the health benefit until they go on Medicare, and then we pay the part.
right.
Correct.
Smaller, yeah, Part B or something. Yeah. I guess I'm not quite convinced where we're seeing a savings. I'm just really curious if that 10,000 is really worth it, because then we're also having to pay out a large chunk of all of their other vacation or sick leave or all of that. And so that's a large chunk, right? And we're having to pay that 10,000, and we're still going to have to pay those other parts. So I don't really, and if you can tell me, but I'm not seeing where we're really saving money there, especially if we're having to then rehire, even if it is at a lower level.
Right. Yeah, the savings would be over time, so you wouldn't see it right away.
Well,
You would see it probably in the second year of the new position.
And it is an early retirement. Your presumption, though, is perhaps that, well, my presumption is that these people would retire anyway and get the health benefit.
Yeah,
and
eventually.
Well, eventually, right. So basically the idea, though, is now if they're now incentivized to do it now with the extra 10,000, which it's very possible they might be, that we are having to do that right now, especially in a time where we aren't, while we're doing well and budget well, it's still, a pandemic and things are not normal years. So, I guess my worry, if you're saying year 2, Jen, I'm curious about that, because I'm kind of thinking it like, well, I wouldn't want it to be, oh, solar is a great investment and you make your money 30 years down the road, right? Like that's not worth it in my mind for the district to spend all of that money outright.
So I think what happens, Raymond James, though, is that we pay out the $10,000, they go into retirement, but then we have a vacancy there, which probably is manageable during COVID. And
Well, Director, Jen just said that if the 3 people that were to go now, those are positions we would have to hire for.
all 3 would be rehired, but they'd be rehired at a much lower pay scale. The only way we would save under your scenario is if those employees that would take a golden handshake left for another district in the interim, and then we wouldn't be liable for their health care after retirement. That's the only potential savings. But we still felt that this was a good tool for management to be able to manage the staffing level in a time like this. There, even with replacing, there's a little bit of time lost in the turnover.
There is. And it also has to go through a review process. So we would look at how much we would be saving, whether we needed to fill the position. And then it does also still come back to the board for final approval. So it doesn't happen until you all look at it and say, okay, yes, we're going to do this, or no, we're not going to.
Jen, are you saying it comes back to the board for final approval for somebody to take the early retirement?
Yes.
So we as a board decide if somebody gets to take an early retirement?
Yes.
Wow.
Basically,
I
yeah.
didn't realize that.
And so does the
different.
administrator. It goes through 2 levels of approval, right? Administrator and board.
I mean, you don't get to decide it. If they want to retire, they can retire.
Right.
You get to decide, do they get the cash incentive or not?
Right.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Jennifer, would it be, where are you thinking the $10,000 would come out of? Would that be something that would come out of maybe the contingency fund or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do it however you'd like. However, it wouldn't be something we would need to expend until next fiscal year. So if we just earmarked a certain dollar amount out of the contingency for this program and then used it from the contingency, and if nobody took advantage of it, it just stays in the contingency. And that way we're not moving money around and trying to budget for it unnecessarily if nobody's
I'm
going to do it.
interested in just understanding what the exact difference would be. Somebody at the highest end of the pay scale versus somebody at the lowest end of the pay scale for say what their yearly salary is. So let's say they're making 50 grand at the top end. What are they going to be making a year at that entry level?
It's pretty significant. There's 5% increase between each step on the ladder. And there's 6 steps, so it's a 30% salary difference,
So
which is a lot.
$15,000 for a $50,000 a year employee.
It's significant.
So that's significant. I guess, Jen, I wish we could have seen that. It would have been really helpful to have that listed out column wise,
Okay,
you know?
I can come back with it if you want at the next meeting with more financial detail, if that would make it more palatable.
Is it on average, from the numbers that you've done, is it on average about 30% per position?
It definitely is, because it's everyone that's eligible is at the top step, and everyone that we would hire would be at the bottom step.
Well, then that's good enough for me,
That
but
makes
just in the
sense,
future,
then.
yeah, it just in the future, if we could have Jen or, stuff similar to this, I would really like to see that. Because then I could have saved us a lot of time and not asked all these questions.
Okay.
I think John and I saw that being around for so long, we intuitively knew that graded salary schedule was the key to this. But
But it's good that we had the discussion, because I mean, it's, it's the more information each of the board members has, the better, obviously. And your point is well taken, Raymond. Some of it, Ralph and I lived through this, and so we know what the consequences are. That we'll just do a little bit more. We'll be a little bit more vigilant and make sure that we have as much information out there as possible.
I have one more comment on this item. I'm reading through the separation agreement and general release. I do have some suggestions. I know that this was taken from, this language is essentially taken from a different district.
Yeah.
And so before it's sent over to Dick, maybe chat with you a little bit about.
Okay, that would be great.
Rather than take up time right now. But
okay,
tightened enough.
Okay, we're on the final furlong, closing on the finish line. So the next item would be items from board of
I do need
directors.
a
So we need
vote on that.
all motion to approve the early retirement incentive program.
I'm obviously getting hungry and thirsty. Sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
you're supposed to eat before the meeting, John.
Ralph, I can't.
My
eat-
apple ready
I
to
can't eat at 5 o'clock like you can.
Or-
Anyway, so board members, I'll just start at the top. Delinda, you're in my top left corner. So anything, would you like to report back on
I
anything?
don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, Ralph, you're top right.
I will be very brief. I did go out with Garrett McDermott to the bike park while, and I was very impressed by the number of people, number of kids using that, and parents and everything. I mean, it's definitely a high use facility. At least it was when I was out there. So he did post something online. Surprised me, but posted something online about my visit out there. So that's pretty much all I got.
Okay, thank you. Darren?
Not really. I mean, that's great. I saw that too. It's great to see the bike park getting use, and it seems like something that's really picking up steam in many districts across the board. I will just note that we did win the Miller Park disc golf course did win the best of Fair Oaks for recreation. So I was happy to see that. That was
That's
great.
great. I saw that too.
Yeah.
Very cool. Raymond?
Funny enough, I was actually take a look at it on the walk I had in Phoenix. It looked great. So great job, Garrett, and everybody keeping that up. I have nothing other than that the ad hoc committee going over all of everything for Measure J has been going really well. We had a meeting today. I'm really looking forward to being able for our next update to you all. We saw some great renderings today. I think it's really going to be incredible and such a jewel for the community, and especially as far as doing events, being able to use the black box theater, like think of like TEDx, right? That we could do a Fair Oaks TEDx and then have breakouts in the different community rooms. I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Cool.
And I can't wait for Katie to market it. So that's going to be wonderful. My one question I had, and perhaps Katie could answer it for me, and then, love thoughts on next meeting, but I've seen too much, but anything around virtual experiences that we're offering, the district's offering, it could be around cooking, it could be wine tasting, it could be anything, but I was just thinking about that this morning.
Great question, Director Irwin. We do have some events in the future that we're planning to have hybrid options where you can go virtual or show up in person. An example of that is we're working on a just beginning proposal with Rich Hanna to do our trail run in June and have a virtual option where you can pay and race on your own like we ended up having to do last year. And then also some limited numbers for racing in person. So that's one example, but we've got some other, we're looking into how to advertise vendors during an event where you can online shop with those vendors using codes. Sabrina is going to be attending a really awesome conference coming up very soon that's going to go over all of the new trends for hybrid virtual options for events and programs. So we're
That's
on
awesome.
it.
And I think food and beverage, I think there's some really cool opportunities for food.
I agree, especially cooking and stuff like that. Everybody's at home. Everybody likes to cook. Everybody likes to eat. So, yeah.
Definitely, we're looking into some beer classes too. You can actually sign up and then they'll deliver you those tasting items. And then you virtually go through the tasting and learn how the beer is made. So
love it.
I want that one right there.
Yeah.
That's good. Thanks, Raymond. That's a good report. I have nothing. I'm going to go in and grab a beer and my dinner in a moment as soon as we adjourn. Mike, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'm going to let the staff take it here. Sean, I believe you have something.
Yes. Hello again, board. Sean Ventura again. I will not delay you too long, John, on this one. If I could share my screen just for a minute while I talk.
Okay.
Give me 1 second here. Hopefully less hiccups than earlier. Okie doke. And then share screen on the photos. So I'm just going to pop this into a slideshow while I talk so you don't have to look at me. This is just a quick update on the windstorm we had fairly recently. I'm going to let these slides play off while I talk. We had a significant wind event, as I'm sure you all knew. You probably drove around town and saw the absolute war zone that was the aftermath of this. This is just some of the pictures of the damage we had throughout the parks. All told, we lost about a tree in 75% of our parks. Some were already weakened, like the one you're seeing here. Some we just lost limbs off of, and some we lost that looked like we lost, but they were actually on the Sacramento County Library's property. All told, it took us about a week and a half to clean all this stuff up, again, just because of the equipment we had on hand. But we took care of the issues. There were no safety issues regarding anybody injured. Thankfully, everybody was inside there. But there was quite a bit of damage there. We lost a couple of oaks, and this big old eucalyptus is not doing too well after the wind event. And that's pretty much all I had to say on that.
Too bad you didn't have a good toe behind chipper, huh?
We were all wishing for that at the time.
we'll bring another windstorm and you can use it.
Gosh.
No,
That's
we don't need it.
yeah, very nice of you.
Thanks, Sean.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Sean.
And I believe
Mike?
Katie has something.
I have just a couple quick items just to confirm on the events that were mentioned earlier in the FOIAB report. On March 13th, we will be having a leprechaun trap making pop-up event from 10 a.m. to 11:30. You can basically buy your trap kit and take it home and watch a video of trap making. And it's really fun. We've done it in the past in person and it sells out every time. March 13th through the 19th, we'll be bringing back our corny joke hotline, which is very fun. It's actually on the 19th from 4 to 5 that you can call in. And I would really encourage you to do so because it will be rec staff that will be giving you your corny jokes. March 31st will be bunny brunch from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's a take home. We're going with a picnic in the park or to go theme. But you can take your box of brunch items home. And while you're there picking it up, you get a picture with the bunny, which will be great for the kids. And then April 3rd, we'll have our Easter egg extravaganza event at Phoenix Park from 10 to 2. It will be very similar to the setup that you saw if you attended the Halloween stroll event. And so it'll be spaced out and following all the protocols, and they'll be able to hunt some golden eggs along the path. So Sabrina's working very hard on those events coming up in the future. Additionally, very quickly, I'll just let you know that our President's Break camp that is happening right now is full with 22 kids, which is an excellent number when we only had 12 just days ago. So it's coming in last minute there, which is fine by us. We are going to be participating in the virtual Race to Educate with the San Juan Unified School District Education Foundation. That's in May and we'll be at Phoenix Park. It's all virtual. We were going to do it in 2020 with them, but obviously it got canceled. So that's a great partnership that we'll be participating in. We're finishing up our draft agreement with the Meristem Steiner College program to run some joint classes over there and offer things like oil making and candle making and working with copper and all kinds of cool classes that will be totally outside of the normal of what we offer. So really excited about that partnership in the future. Also, just to let you know, the interns, DJ is our rec intern, and he will be working on an esports program, which if you caught the new magazine from NRPA is one of the biggest trends happening right now is esports. And then Shay and Jordan are our two interns that are in the environmental studies program. Excellent meetings, Sacramento Splash program last week. We're going to get a lot of volunteers from their program that are docents that are going to come out and help with some mitigation of invasive species and vegetation out at the vernal pools in preparation for the bloom that's technically already started. Shay and Jordan are very passionate about the vernal pools and environmental studies. I'm very passionate about this new partnership with the Splash program. I know Mike is as well. So we're very excited about what's coming with our internships. Doing a lot of great things and just excited about the future. So thank you for the opportunity to update you.
Thanks, Katie.
Can I ask you a question, Katie? One of the management tools for vernal pools, and we used it up at Vina Plains on a Caltrans project I had, is the use of fire to burn out the exotics and the problem plants. The timing has to be right, but it's probably the most effective way to get rid of star thistle and a lot of the annual invasives. So I'd be curious to follow up on that and see what your interns recommend. And by the way, yeah, I had a nice interview with BJ. BJ, is that correct?
DJ. Yeah.
So I don't know if the other board members have, but very pleasant interview with him. Very nice.
He's fantastic. He's working the fall break camp right now. He's just a very passionate, great team player. So absolutely, Director Carhart, we can keep you in the loop as we start to work with the Splash program docents. They're the brains of the operation. They're, a lot of biologists and people that have environmental studies degrees. And then Shay and Jordan will be learning from them because there's only a limited amount of things that I can help teach them related to the vernal pools. If it's recreation, I got it covered, but vernal pools, not so much. So we will keep you in the loop as we move forward into their mitigation
Yeah, when we
recommendations.
get into that, the use of fire is a very, it's especially next to the residential neighborhood. It's a touchy subject, but it is very effective in managing vernal pools. And I want them at least to, investigate the pros and cons of doing something like that on either a very small scale or on a bigger scale. Maybe just a small scale to see how it performs.
Definitely.
An important resource we have there. And when I was out there with Garrett, we were talking about it, and I really didn't know if we have any hands-on management of that, or if there's anybody else doing hands-on management of the invasives in there. So I'm glad to hear that somebody's working.
That's what we're working towards, as well as a possible Earth Day event, as well as a virtual tour through the vernal pools. Thank you.
And then I believe that Jennifer, you have something?
Yeah, just a quick housekeeping item. Just wanted to remind you all that you should have received something from Sac County for your Form 700 disclosure annual filing. If you have any questions or you didn't get the email, let me know and I can forward you the link.
I did not.
I did today.
Okay.
I did.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure that you get
And
it.
I don't have a working printer. I've got a very expensive printer that quit working. So if I could get a copy of that in the office, drop by sometime the Form 7.
Yeah, it's actually all electronic now. You can file everything
Oh,
online.
super.
It's a
Forget
whole
that.
new system that they implemented.
Thank you.
That's
Okay,
it.
great. And I do have a few things. First of all, next let's say Thursday, next Wednesday, I'll be doing a presentation to the village merchants on the bond issues around Village Plaza Park and the amphitheater. If you get a chance, sign up through FOVEC's website. I think it'll be a fun presentation. It'll be the first time we'll be able to see the renderings that some of us saw samples of today, and we'll be putting those out there to the public. And I'm hoping to put that as a dog and pony type of show and visit as many people as possible in the next 4 to 5 months, giving that same presentation. So we really educate the folks on what this is going to look like now that we have a model that we can show, and we have a better timeline for construction. So that's at 8 a.m. on the 24th. The commercial tenants, the salon building, have all moved out. They will be turning in their keys Friday. And so that building is vacant and getting ready for demolition. And we learned today that we have to resubmit some of our stormwater plan for Village Plaza Park, primarily the Plaza Park side of it. That's going to add about another 30 days to plan reviews. And they didn't get enough credit for some of the pervious pavements that we have in place. So there's going to be some adjustments made to the stormwater management plan. And hopefully at the end of this week, we will see the final cost estimations for the amphitheater. That's a good thing for us. So far, they don't anticipate any serious changes, but we'll see what happens when we get those final cost estimations. Construction, estimated time for construction of the park and everything else. Now, that's not the tear down of the amphitheater nor the salon. That's coming, as I mentioned, probably in early part of April. But the actual construction part of it is currently plus or minus May 2021. So that's with that 30 delay, as I mentioned earlier. And then we will be opening the bids for Strang Park February 23rd. And that's an exciting for us to be able to see where the bids will come in versus our cost estimations. And that, if everything goes well, no matter what, we'll be having it on the board agenda for March. And you'll be either selecting a bidder to do the work, or you will be rejecting all the bids.
Mike, the construction timing, you said May 2021, is that the beginning? That's the beginning.
Estimated.
Right?
Estimated. I don't have it.
Minus beginning, and then it runs for 18 months still?
Correct. Yeah, we're still at an 18-month window. And that's all I have.
Okay,
James and I saw those renderings that Tim Mathias did with some incredible staff people he has. And man, they really are exciting when you see the interior views and other things in renderings. They're going to really enhance Mike's presentations.
Yeah.
cool. All right. Anybody else have anything before we adjourn? So a motion to adjourn to the regular March 17, 2021 meeting of the Fair Oaks Park District, which is coincidentally St. Patrick's Day. Somebody want to make that motion?
So moved. And that's the day before my birthday too.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Ciao.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Pleasure.